going back and forth and understanding as we go through this. As we've been studying this idea and having this mindset of understanding what the truth is, and last week we talked about some stuff that can hinder us knowing the truth. We talked about our selfish nature, our selfish desire, to the point where we fail to realize, even though we never asked for it, it's already been provided, right? God has always provided whatever it is we're going to need. Don't care about what you want, he provides your need, right? He says, seek me first, me and my kingdom and my righteousness, and all of these things will be added on to you. And those things was whatever it is you're going to eat, what are you going to drink, what are you going to wear. And then he says, me. And so when we read the prodigal son in Luke 15, and we get down to this understanding that, all right, the older brother was a little bit selfish. But so are we, in the same light. We fail to realize God has never left us, nor has he forsaken us. So that means he's been providing everything we're going to need. And sometimes we allow the trials, the struggles, the negativity of the outside to dictate how we do things. And that, takes you away from realizing that, okay, yes, I'm struggling, but I'm also being perfected. Yes, I'm going through trials, but I'm also being perfected. Yes, this is happening, but God is still in control, and he is still my Father, right? So that selfishness allows us not to see the truth that is happening around us. This morning, I was asking the question in the Bible class, and it's a very simple question, right? We're talking about truth. The truth will always be the truth, even if what?
No one believes it.
And a lie will always be a lie, even if what?
Everyone believes it.
I'm glad you know that. And so we're asking the question, I was asking the question this whole week, and I'm asking you guys this question. Show of hands, how many of us know how to listen? One. Exactly. How many of us know how to listen? Nobody, huh? I like it. You've been here before. What?
I didn't hear that.
I didn't think so. Right? We don't really know how to listen. And we either try to listen through our hurt, try to listen through our feelings, or we try to listen through what we think is being said, but we're not actually listening as the person is talking to us. And so here's the other question. Have you ever been talking to somebody and they tell you, please be quiet? What's the first thing you did? Be truthful. What did you do? Huh? Finish your conversation, didn't you? You finished that sentence and then the other sentence and then you closed the book. Why is that? Did you not hear what they said? For me, it's funny. Like when somebody starts talking to another person and they say, sir, I don't understand English. What did they do? What? Talk louder. As if volume was the problem.
I still don't understand.
You speak in English, I understand Chinese, and you saying, I am saying this because, I got it perfectly now. See, volume was not the problem, was it? We have a lack of understanding. And so this morning, what we're going to talk about is ways how we can understand through listening. There's a difference between listening and hearing. You know that, right? There's a difference between listening and hearing, right? We'll get there. There's some things we've got to lay some groundwork before we get there. Think about it this way. You go to a fancy restaurant, and the waiter or waitress come up to you, and they got a notebook in their hand. They say, all right, sir. So have you guys been here before? Little chalk. And then they're like, sir, so what are you going to have? What do you say? After they tell you the special day, then you give them what they do. They write it down, right? They write down what you want to have. And then what they do after that? Repeat it back to you to make sure they have the order correct, right? And then when you say, all right, that's it. All right, we'll be right back. Do you want the entrees or the appetizer? And then they come back. Why do they do that? Make sure what? They got your order, right? That is called active listening. We do not know how to active listen. We trigger listen. Or, for many of us, we have selective listening skills. I laugh a little bit because when my wife wants to tell me something important, she goes, let me come to your nearest. Because if she doesn't come to my nearest, you've been there before. You're in the living room, and they'll start talking to you in the living room, then they'll go into the kitchen, and they're still talking to you in the kitchen, but you already stopped listening in the living room. Yeah, we don't know how to listen. Sometimes we don't know how to talk to us, but that's okay. We're going to talk about the proper way to listen, because it's important in what we have to do, right? We have, first portion of this is called selective listening. In the act is the act of focusing on a specific part of a conversation while ignoring others. This is where we say, well, at least I'm listening, right? Wrong. What happens when we selective listening? When we selective listen, there are three major problems. One, there's misunderstanding. You may have missed important details or instructions. Two, we form a biased decision. Your judgment and decision can be influenced by only hearing information that aligns with your preference. This is very dangerous. Think about what would have happened if Solomon only selectively listened to the women's stories. We would have had a half a baby everywhere, right? You get a half, she get a half. Think about the third part of it. Think about the frustration on the speaker. The other person in the conversation may feel ignored, rejected, disrespected, and not valued. While on the other hand, it shows a lack of self-control. That's selective listening. Trigger listening is a person's mental ability to detect and react specifically to words or situations that evoke a strong emotion due to past experiences. What is it? It's a state where a person's emotional well-being is significantly affected by a specific person, object, situation, or memory. These triggers can bring about past emotions, past trauma, or a strong feeling of inaccuracy, rejections, or fear. How does this happen? When a person encounters a trigger, it activates a powerful emotional memory leading to overwhelming response that can make it difficult for them to clearly listen or be more effective. For example, I told you you're going to be in the sermon this morning. If I was to say to Joshua, you always forget what I tell you to do. You never do what I ask you to do. What do you think Joshua is thinking right now?
Lies.
What do you do when you're talking to somebody and you use those words? You always do this, you never do that. What are they doing? Huh? You're attacking them, but what are they doing? They're going on the offensive. Defense. Right? They start looking for, what? I don't do that. Then they start looking for ways to tell you how they don't do. Are they listening to you anymore?
No.
Is that an accurate statement, though? You always, you never? Is that accurate? No. Why do you do it?
Sometimes they're running from their guilt.
Frustration, anger. I've told you this 1,000 times. You're still doing the same thing. Right? They're hurt. So instead of you listening to their hurt, what are you doing? Increasing it. Poking them. You become a combative. Now I want you to ask yourself, do you know how to listen properly, or do you do more of a selective listening or a trigger listening? Or perhaps you have become professional who selectively trigger listen. For this very reason, we're told to be quick to do what?
Listen.
Quick to listen. Slow to what?
Anger.
Let's turn to our text this morning. In James chapter 1, verse 19 to 21. James chapter 1, verses 19 to 21. And we're talking about the importance of listening properly. This you know, my beloved brethren, but everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Quick to hear. Earlier I said there's a difference between listening and hearing. Here it is. Here it is. When we listen, right, we pay attention. Listening and being attentive. When we listen, we're prepared to hear what the person has to say. Listening is me being attentive. Is my wife saying, listen here, I'm talking to you. Right here, right? You ever been to the racetracks? Don't go there, it's gambling, I know it's understandable. But at the racetrack, they put blinders on the horses. Why? So they can only see where? In front of them, not on the side of them, not there. Because if there's no blinders, what happens? They run that way. That's like us. So when it comes to listening, in order for us to prepare to listen, right, we got to put everything away. Got to turn the phone off, turn the TV off. You got to tell yourself, listen. And we're listening for comprehending. So we're listening to hear what they're actually trying to tell us. So I can't hear nothing if I'm not prepared to listen. That's why he says, be quick. Sometimes we're just too quick with the speak. He said, be slow to speak. Some of us are too quick to speak. We don't even listen. You ever go and ask for advice to somebody, and the minute you start to talk, they cut you off? I tell people this all the time. They don't think I'm serious. I don't like talking. Here's the reason why I don't like talking. I talk to them in counseling. I talk to them in preaching. I talk to them in teaching. I have regular conversation. I'm tired of talking. So if you ask a question and I'm trying to answer the question and you cut me off, guess who's not talking? Me. But you know what else you're telling me? What I have to say is more, it's not important. What you have to say is more important than what I have to say. And there's some trigger words that comes behind it. My favorite one is, excuse me, Tim, I didn't mean to cut you off. Oh, so it was accidental. You didn't mean to cut me off. Huh? Listen here, brother, I just want to tell you, I'm talking. Right. But that don't matter. Because at that point, you're telling me whatever it is you have to say is more important than what you just asked me. And it's some of the reason why we can't even have debates with each other. Because to some people, winning a debate is never giving the other person the opportunity to speak. And so you just, can I talk? No. That sounds like a very constructive dialogue. And half the time you're speaking, there's no facts in there either. I can't memorize things and just say it out if I wanted to. But why are you speaking? For what reason? What's the purpose behind it? Somebody come to you with an actual problem, and before they open their mouth, what do you say? Listen here, brother, I know what you're going through. I've been through it before. Really? You've been through it before? You don't even know what I'm about to tell you. How could you possibly have been through it before? But you want to speak before. And the other side of that is the anger that comes with it. Right? He says, this you know. What does that mean? You should already know. My beloved brethren. But everyone, that's my favorite word. Everyone, that means who? Everyone. Nobody is exempt. You have no right to cut off somebody. You don't like it when they do it in traffic, don't do it to another person when they're speaking. Think of the anger when somebody cuts you off in traffic. I know you start praying for them, don't you? Think of how much it took for that person to come to you. Think about it. On the other side, think about how much of a damage you're causing when somebody tells you to please stop and you don't stop. Please stop. Oh no, you're going to get all of this. And the next person behind you has to clean up your mess. But everyone must be quick to hear. Hear implies comprehension. If I am not listening, I cannot hear. If I cannot hear, I cannot comprehend what is being said. Be quick to listen. Be quick to prepare yourself to comprehend what is being said. And what is he about to tell you? For the anger of man does not achieve the righteousness of God. We are some angry, angry people. Some of us are angrier than others, but there's still a little bit of anger in there. Some of us have been hurt many ways. Like Nick was saying this morning, many of us have adopted the victim mentality. Can you imagine you being a victim and somebody trying to bring the truth about what you're going through? Who are you to tell me? Okay. Not the time. Got it. Right? And we don't ask those questions because we don't do a lot of listening. And so we don't comprehend what is actually being said. A lot of times we filter this through a feeling or an emotion. We trigger listen. We selectively listen to what is being said. And instead of actually taking it down and repeating it back, no, we go inside and get defensive. Where do you get off? I was doing this while you were in your mama's belly. You have no rights to tell me. Okay. For the anger of man does not achieve the righteousness of God. I don't know about you, I'm a little bit angry. What are you angry about? The behavior of this world. Nah, I'm not angry with that. What are you really angry about? I'm angry about the fact that people who don't know God pretend to know God. Why are you angry about that? Because it makes my work twice as hard. We're not listening to what people are actually telling us. We're only triggered listening or selectively listening to what they're actually saying. You ever tell somebody something and they ran with it with a different story and came back with a completely different understanding? It is joy for me when that happens. Right? Sometimes I ask a simple question. Hey, brother, how you get to that conclusion? Something is said right here, through the action, through the words. It is said right here. And then somebody else watching that will go and run in a completely different direction with it. And then come back and say something completely different. I love it. There was two things. I'm going to share this fun stuff with you guys. This is funny to me. That's been said by another congregation about me. One, they said I was about to get fired. I said, okay. Two, they said I was driving all the black folks out of the church.
That sounds like 1800.
I said, huh? How'd you get to that point? Like, how did you get to that point? You know how they got to the point? It's because their members were leaving. And it was looking for somewhere else to go. So rather than say, hey, try this over here, let me slander this person. If you're slandering to keep a congregation, you don't have that congregation. Let me just make it clear. Because we're not listening at all. You're not listening to the truth, or you're not speaking the truth. It's impossible to speak the truth because you don't listen to it. This is God's word. He says the reason why we need to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become anger, because the anger of man does not what? Produce the righteousness that God is looking for. What does it produce? My righteousness. The selfishness that allows me to block myself away from the actual fact. There is no reality, just my reality. And it goes down to simply say, woe is me. Why am I always suffering? Lord, you never do anything for me. I am always on my own. You know why, God, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to go ahead and do it myself. That's wonderful, isn't it? It produces anger. Get to 21. Therefore, meaning everything I've just said up there, put aside all filthiness and all that remains of wickedness. And then here's the one that cripples us. In humility, receive the word implanted, which is able to do what? Come on. Which is able to do what? That should be your goal. You want your souls to be saved, don't you? And you want other people's souls to be saved, don't you? So we've got to learn to listen when? First. How is it possible that you're going to help other people when you don't know how to listen to other people? That's going to be fun. Do you know you learn a lot when you listen? Right? When I listen to people, I discern whether I need to speak or I just need to be quiet. And that saves me headaches. It gives them headaches, but it saves me headaches. Because then they will yell, aren't you going to say something? No. Bless you. Have a nice day. Because you have to be able to discern what it is you're about to say. Are they going to be able to accept it? Are they mature enough to accept it? Or are they just not ready for it yet? And the only way we can do that is when we learn to listen without the anger behind it. I'm obligated to listen. No. Listen to learn. You listen to comprehend. A lot of us just don't know how to listen. You can't listen and talk at the same time. Can you? Think about the amount of time you interrupted somebody while they were talking. You know, look at on the flip side of this. For men, it is impossible for us to want to speak about our feelings and emotions. And then when we pick up all of the courage to actually do it, and then somebody said, shut up! Let me tell you something better. What are the odds I'm going to open up again? Zero? But we don't realize when we're doing that. We just think we have the answer. There's a gap between the older and the younger people. And that gap is there because the older people don't want to listen to the younger people, and the younger people are not listening to the older people. A young man once said, wise young man, he said, you know, sometimes they said, wow, you lazy. My rent is the equivalent to their mortgage when they were my age. Do you see that gap? He's got to work 3, 4, 5 times hard to make the ends meet. I didn't say you didn't. See that what happens? Or they go. That's not what I said. I'm just saying you're not listening to him when he's trying to tell you, which is always nice. Right? You know what I tell people all the time? Every time my wife takes, I say, if it didn't come out of my mouth, I'm not responsible for it. Because people will tell you, well, I think I know what you're going to, I guarantee you don't. You do not know what's going to come out of this. I don't know what's going to come out of this. How do you know? The only way you're going to know is when you listen to it coming out. People think they can predict what you're going to do. They think they can predict what you're going to say. No. You know what I do? I watch patterns, behaviors. Right? That's how we help one another. That's how we bridge this gap between one another. Whether old, young, black, white, purple, blue, what else? Man, woman. That's how we bridge that. By listening to one another. That should be our goal. I don't want to listen to you. No, a broken clock is right twice in a day. What that means? It means the truth can be given to you by somebody who's not even doing what it says it is. What can we do? Well, the word was pretty clear. Before we can do anything, we need to put off all filthiness. And then receive the implanted word, which is able to save our soul. So how do we listen better? Great question. Step 1, pay attention. Step 2, do not interrupt. Yeah, that's a hard one. You want to say something, don't you? How about having pen and paper around you and summarize what they're telling you? If you don't understand it, ask them the question. Hey, did you say this? This is what I heard what you said. You know what you're not doing? You're not forming a defense. This one's hard for me. Maintain eye contact. I'm from a culture where if a younger person is staring in the eyes of an older person for a long period of time, that's a sign of disrespect. So how do you do that? You look away, you look away, you look away. You know, I told somebody that one time, you know what they said? Well, you're in America now. So, okay. How about showing some interest when they're talking to you? Can we do that? Can we show interest when somebody's talking to us? And here's my favorite part. If you don't understand, ask for clarification. Do not go home and try to figure out what they said. The source is right there in front of you. Ask them to clarify what they're saying. Don't go home and then let the brain go wild. Well, he said this, and this is connected to that. So when he said this was he said that. He definitely said that, and then you don't even know where you begin. Ask for clarification. Use positive body language. You ever go talk to somebody and, oh man, this guy again. Right, that's so inviting. I just want to run up to you next time and just talk to you. Paraphrase what is being said to you. I hope you're paying attention. Because before we got there, it says don't interrupt, summarize, request clarification, paraphrase what is being said to you. Why? Because I'm trying to figure out what you're going through. I'm trying to understand what it is you're telling me. Woo-hoo. Can we do it without judgment? Can we do it without judgment? This is a bad word. Show empathy. know what that means? You know what it means to show empathy? We say it all the time. Walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. That means, here's the key, right? It's not about me. It's about them. So I make it all about them. Repeat key phrases. This is what I keep hearing over and over again. What are you trying to say? This is what you're saying. Is this correct? This last part, it says share. Share these documents. Don't share what's being shared with you. Right? That's private. But you can share this information, but not what is being shared to you. The person needs to feel like, the person needs to know whatever they brought to you will stay with you. Right? I remember one time somebody asked my wife, goes, does your husband tell you everything that happens? She goes, no. And I go, why? That's none of your business. But also, it's none of your business. Why would I share somebody else's problem? And eventually that's going to go around the block. And it's going to come right back to that person. And you know who's going to be a problem with that? I'm going to be the one who can't look them in the face. And what do we usually do instead of accepting the fact that I gossip about the person? No, you must have told somebody else. Couldn't be me. So what do? It's between me and God. My wife doesn't even know. It's me and God. We carry that load. That's why I lay it at his feet. It's not mine to carry. But if we don't know how to practice this, we will never be able to fully understand what somebody is saying to us. That's why we're called to be quick to listen. This is how we listen. From this day forth, men, men, you can't say you don't know how to listen. Women, you can't say you don't know how to listen either. Right? Because it's right here for us.
What'd you say?
No, I knew it. I am going to call Cedric and give him the full message. She's going to go home and say, nothing? What you learned today? Nothing. He said nothing important. But we've got to learn to listen to one another. That's how we help one another. That's how we heal one another. That's how we grow with one another. Yesterday was a beautiful day of discussions. There was also a meaning discussion. And it just opened my eyes to the fact that sometimes you can be talking to people and they're just not listening. Somebody said, oh, you made us eat before you talked to us. We're not going to pay any attention. I'm going to be asleep. I said, brother, do you realize study shows that if you're hungry, you don't listen? If you're full, you really don't listen? You got to find that nice medium. He says, spiritually speaking, that's not what the Bible says. He says, Jesus says that we need to learn how to suffer. What's that got to do with breakfast? No, we need to suffer. So in our suffering, we will understand. I said, listen to me. When you're suffering, are you listening to people? Are you even listening to advice around you? And so I saw another gentleman try to educate him. And he says, no, remember when Jesus fed the 5,000 and then he taught them? And then, brother's like, there you go. That was his words. You take it out of context. That's not what that means. And the only thing in my head I could remember saying, remember when Jesus went to Matthew's house? Remember when Jesus stopped? He told Zacchaeus to come down? Why didn't he preach while Zacchaeus was in the tree? Because there's a time and a place for everything. We have to understand that. There's a time to listen and a time to speak. It seems like we have forgotten the time to listen. We've got to learn to listen to one another if we want to actually help one another. If you're here this morning, afternoon, and you'd like to start your journey of listening to the Lord and His words and to one another, you'll actually come down and be baptized. Baptism is the only way we start our salvation walk. It's the beginning. As one person would say, baptism is the prerequisite that we need to continue our faith walk. It is key. And when we say baptism, we say full immersion under water, where you die to the old you and you're brought up brand new in Christ Jesus. There is no special prayer. There is no sprinkling. It is full immersion under water. And also, if you are struggling, going through anything, at this time, we're going to